Good afternoon and welcome back to 5G Hack Them All in Aalto University. Next up, we will have a lecture about 5G in creative industries, hosted by Eero Tiainen. Welcome, Eero.
Thanks, Lauri, and thanks Start North for this opportunity. Yes, my name is Eero Tiainen. I come from Aalto University. I have my own production company also called Avatar's Journey, and I also I'm sitting in the Finnish Virtual Reality Association in a board there. And today I'm gonna talk about XR and 5G in creative industries. These are the 5 topics I'm gonna go through. But before we go in, maybe just a few words about myself. So I'm a VR experience designer and VR game creator. And I'm also a maker of this kind of a transformational framework in immersive and VR experiences, mostly targeted to VR games. So basically in my role I combine game design and narrative design and experience design. And as said, I'm in the board of Fiverr, and in Aalto University I come from Experience Platform, and formerly I've been working 3 years in VR Hub before. So let's go into it because there's quite a lot of material for you guys today. So first I'm gonna go through the VR industry, kind of a little bit of like a where are we at the moment, and then I'm gonna lead you towards the kind of the new era, the next phase of spatial computing. Then I'm going to talk about the kind of the marriage between 5G and XR, and then there are going to be quite a many use cases and videos about how to use VR and 5G in practice in creative industries. And then finally, if I have time, I go to future prospects. So there's quite a package coming. So let's just clear this thing out first. What is VR? What is XR? What is MR? What is AR? What does this all mean? Extended reality is this kind of an umbrella term for virtual reality, mixed reality, and augmented reality. Augmented reality means that we somehow overlay physical reality with digitally created content. Usually with the mobile phone screen, but it can be like with AR glasses maybe in the future. Then on the other hand, virtual reality means that you have a computerally generated environment and you kind of exclude the physical reality as much as possible. And this is practically done with HMD, which stands for head-mounted display. And then mixed reality means that we are blending kind of these two together, the physical and digital layers of reality, to form kind of a new kind of environment for the user. And just a quick look to VR market at the moment and a little bit projections to the future. So we are in this kind of rising curve right at the moment, and it's actually pretty impressive. There's different forecasts, of course, but the compound annual growth rate would be something like 40 to 50%. And actually, the creative industries is the largest use case for VR. Gaming and entertainment makes 40% from the whole VR market value. And VR games and VR future weaving at the moment are the biggest use cases for VR. And what drives XR industry forward are wireless standalone headsets, namely Oculus Quest that launched a year ago. It has been a huge success for Facebook, who owns Oculus. Premium gaming and utility content. Just a couple of months ago, there was Half-Life Alyx launched, and it has been a great success too. So kind of more and more of AAA gaming in content-wise. And then the Finnish startup Varjo which is maybe the kind of the flagship company in Finland in XR industry. So they are making these human eye resolutions that allow this kind of high-end simulations. It's basically targeted for industry use, for automobiles and stuff. And now I cannot get to the next slide. Oh, okay, no. Yeah, so finally we have come to this kind of place where there's actually first time I've seen VR used in VR in train. This is my picture actually what I've taken. So it's coming basically to mass adoption, slowly but surely. And if we take a look of this kind of this development in a conceptual level, maybe this is actually, if you take a look of yourself, it's highly likely that you are actually sitting in front of a computer, just like this guy there, already in 80s. So the basic construction, how computers and how we interact with the computers hasn't changed that much. So what the next kind of era of computing could be is seen that it could be this kind of spatial computing. So the computers become aware of their surroundings and the user more and more, and it's kind of this constant interaction, and it's the interface is very human-centered, basically. So some people say that we go from human-computer interface to human-computer confluence, working together with digital machines. So we are moving from information age to something. Some people say that it's experiential age. Actually, in the morning, I just read that it has been also called the age of imagination. And when you during this presentation, maybe you know why. So why XR and 5G go so well together? Why do they need each other? Is at the moment we have a little bit of problems, especially with VR. The content is very heavy to run. It's too high resolution video feeds at the same time. It has to be calculated like with millimeter or like actually millisecond speed. There can be no latency for the user when they move their head in the HMD. So basically people need to own a very powerful and expensive computers, gaming computers, for this content to run. Then there's this freaking cable between the headset and the computer, which limits actually the ability to move and immersion. And the whole setup is very troublesome to move and to set up, so it's kind of cumbersome. And the solutions could be provided by 5G and edge infrastructure, at least partially. So large parts of the computing could happen in the cloud and then on the edge infra, and then be delivered to the end user's device. So this would actually end up to the form factor of the head-mounted displays to be lighter and wireless, of course. Here's a little bit of kind of projections to the future. This is actually, by the way, maybe 1 month ago there was a all conference which was totally in fully in virtual reality. So this is one slide from there. I guess this is Qualcomm's vision. So today we are, as you see on the left, we are in this kind of a standalone VR, AR is coming, but then with 5G in the following years, the headsets become lighter and lighter, and also especially AR is enabled by mobile phones. And as we speak, there are these first mobile-based 5G AR headsets coming, so that it means that there's a mobile phone and then it's attached with USB to your AR glasses, so that the 5G enabled mobile phone can handle part of the computing. And this is coming by the end of this year. MOVA, it has 5G ability, and it's this kind of a social VR headset, basically, and platform for socializing. Really quickly, Qualcomm is all in and collaborates with many big players around the globe. You can see some of them here. There are smartphone, original equipment manufacturers, viewer, OEMs, operators. Basically, there's a very wide range of operators involved. Panasonic has already launched in the beginning of this year this kind of models for ultra light VR eyeglasses. You see there, and yeah, basically what is happening is that USB-C cable comes in between the smartphone and that headset. And there are some testimonials from leaders of these companies, basically, and they all talk about how to combine XR and 5G ecosystems together. And maybe it's just a kind of a prototype for the future. What the headsets or like a glass for the future could look like would be maybe something like that. And it's worth noting that there's a lot of trackers and sensors involved that allow for the user's heart rate to be monitored, and like different kind of health sensors, eye tracking, for instance, too. These are all really valuable because then the system and the hardware and the software, they can respond in real time to the user, and it's maybe for health data and stuff like that. It's really useful too. And just quickly about the technology also. So what we have to get under in terms of latency in XR is this motion to photon value under 50 milliseconds. So motion to photon means that from your when the user is turning their head, how much time does it take to actually move the photons on the screen? So it needs to be below 50 milliseconds, and actually more preferable would be under 7 milliseconds. And that means that it has to be calculated in the edge computing or in the device itself. This kind of a very high-end movements or like responses to it in order to latency to be low enough. Yeah, and one picture more about how the whole infrastructure would look like. Of course, I guess you have already been introduced to these topics, but centralized cloud that then is connected to edge infrastructure, and then to the chips in the end products. And from these examples seen here, the automobiles and the remote controls maybe that are combined with that, and the VR they are really critical in terms of latency from these solutions. And let's continue with Qualcomm for a while, because Qualcomm is really a really big player. It can be found, for instance, in the Oculus Quest. It's a chip maker. And the new Snapdragon XR2 5G actually allows for 7 concurrent cameras. And this is important because the next generation headsets, they basically track the environment through the cameras. They detect their surroundings by their cameras, and then there's this video pass-through possibility. So that allows for mixed reality applications actually in the end. And then one really important part of the upcoming technologies is also AI, which allows for us to be, or for the manufacturers and software creators to be aware of the user and to personalize the content more and more for the user. And this way the devices become more kind of constructive and predictive for the user and personalized, as said. And well, 5G, we know what it allows. It's kind of a low latency, high bandwidth, stuff like that that makes it possible for the users to dive into this kind of a world of its own without latency. 8K support for 360 videos, so the accuracy of the detail level of the content is such a high and in such a high level that it's actually matching almost the human eye resolution there, and it's 360 and stereo. And one thing to also note is voice UI. So we have a natural linguistic processing, ever more evolving, and so in the future maybe we will talk to our devices. Maybe we will control them through our language as we speak to each other, actually. And Qualcomm sees that 5G is very essential for the development of XR because of the high uniformity that it allows, extreme capacity, especially in the crowded event sharing. If you think how many thousands of people are using the devices at the same time, so 5G allows for all of them to be synced and also to have a high quality stream to their phones. And then remote control, tactile internet, and 6 degrees of freedom, immersive content, all require low latency, as said already. 6 degrees of freedom means basically that when 3 degrees of freedom means that you can only move your head inside the headset and it detects that. 6 degrees means that you can actually move in this room scale space, and the whole movement of your body is detected. Okay, let's go to the use cases. This is kind of these are the interesting stuff. So once again, what 5G plus XR marriage allows is extreme mobile broadband. So you don't need a own powerful computer, which is really important in for mass adoption of these headsets. And then understanding and enriching the surroundings. So let's say we can bring content to your home directly through spatial computing. There can be maybe some entities running around in your home, some characters, for instance. Minimum latency, so interactive experiences, full body tracking is possible also, and everything is made possible happening live with multiple users at the same time. Virtual presence, so you can visit other places that are otherwise impossible to visit, and new forms of live events and embodied experiences. Here are some, I'm throwing in some examples for VR, MR, AR industries. And actually I'm going to the detail in the following more. But basically, let's say breakdancing VR parties, so you can have in the future your friends can be distributed in their homes all across the globe, and then they can be live together, and someone can be breakdancing and you can enjoy that, for instance. But let's see those use cases now. So first of all, what are creative industries? Well, this is one take on it. It's not very clearly defined field, but this is pretty good coverage. And let's go through these one by one, and I give you some examples. So museums, this is Sir Attenborough has been narrating this kind of a VR experience.
In
This is
these
the trailer
tours
for that.
today, there is a special selection of objects
So basically,
ready
this
for you
allows the
to
distribution of
explore. Thank you very much.
natural science
There we are.
knowledge and experience in this very kind of an experiential
Boy,
form,
That is
as
amazing.
you can see. And these can be made available both in the the museum context itself, or then
Look, it's gonna
for
hit me in the face.
for the through the distribution channels like Steam
It is
and
great.
Oculus Store. They can be viewed anywhere. Environmental heritage. So this is a Finnish example, Turku 1812, made by Clue Collaboration. And what it allowed was this kind of a visit in a place in Turku that doesn't exist, namely the square in 1812. And there were 5 people at the same time in the experience and 1 guide who was guiding them through it. And they were like actually like historians had made those objects that the people could see in the surrounding, and people could talk to each other, and the guide could describe what was where and what was what. And it was really well received. It was 2 summers ago, maybe now, or 1. Sorry. Either or, but like it was really it was sold out and very well received. So basically, what this allows is this kind of time traveling. This wouldn't be possible in any other means. And also, what is really noticeable is that it's a multiplayer experience, as we call it, multiplayer, multi-user experience. So VR doesn't need to be, and in the future it's less and less this kind of an isolated experience. And then a really cool experience also, the Dawn of Art. This is actually a 360 video, so if we would be in Google right now, we could drag this around to see the whole footage. But this is also an immersive 6DoF experience, and I have to say this was very moving. I did this 2 weeks ago. It's the Sauveur Cave. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's in France. It is one of the most earliest places for the cave paintings in the world. And it's really remarkable. If I remember right, they were like 36,000 years ago, the oldest paintings in there, from the era that mammoths actually existed, which is mind-blowing to be there, to see those pictures of mammoths, and to understand really that those people have lived with mammoths at the same time and seen them and been haunting them. I was really moved by that experience for some reason. It's a little bit hard to describe, but very moving. And especially knowing that you cannot go to the cave anymore. It's closed now. Then visiting places where you couldn't otherwise visit. This is from Mount Everest VR, really high quality VR experience where you actually travel to the very top of Mount Everest. And I think they have laser scanned the environment there, so it's pretty accurate. Yeah, so libraries and archives. Well, I last fall I was making this kind of interactive diorama anatomy lesson by Dr. Nicholas Tulp, which is a Lili Diaz project. It's made in Aalto community. So the picture is from Oodi, the new central library in Helsinki, and there was this kind of an installation that we made. So in the center there's a VR headset and a user in VR, and what this allowed was that people could actually go inside that famous painting from Rembrandt from 1631, and actually go to the ceiling and see the ornaments in the ceiling, the emblems in the ceiling and stuff like that. So this kind of a history trip there too. This is really interesting also how this will affect to the kind of performing arts, the upcoming era of XR. So this is a game called Under Percents, where you actually meet each other. You can meet other players, but also there are live actors in there, and you never know which one is like who is who. So it's a little bit like a mystery of like, because the characters you meet are like this kind of very cartoon-like characters. So it's this mysterious experience where you basically you go forward with kind of a true puzzle solving. But really interesting usage of live actors and gaming at the same time, and making it live. Volumetric capture is something that is really interesting topic, and I think that's the next era of kind of films. Like, of course, we don't lose what ever mediums we already have, but this allows something else that hasn't been possible before. So what you see here in the trailer is those actors have been captured volumetrically, which means that here's a video about that. So it means that there's actually this kind of a camera rig in the studio all across the actor, and then the actor and the movement of the actor and the action is recorded. Like there you see there's the camera rigs, and this is actually the surrounding here is live, and the footage was AR. Let's see if I can go back. Maybe. So what it allows is that actually when you point out the camera of your mobile phone to the surrounding, so this kung fu guy is then visible on your screen, or maybe in the headset in the future, and he's kind of implemented or placed inside that physical reality, physical view. Pretty cool what it allows. So if you can start to imagine, like, we can bring any characters, any stories to people's homes or their familiar surroundings. So, and this is again from Qualcomm's visions. So when this VR technology comes together with 5G, it allows for live streaming in this way, in the 6 degrees of freedom. So basically, if you think about that camera rig being placed inside stadium, or like around the stadium of the playing area, then we could make the viewer feel like, or like actually be there inside the field among the players. Like this picture here is kind of trying to showcase. So pretty interesting, and of course we can also make kind of a virtual productions where there can be virtual cameras that are kind of traveling to the field among the players. So even if we do a kind of a old way traditional linear tele broadcast of this sport event, it can be, the camera angles can be freely chosen in this volumetric capture technology. And it's a big market, ever more growing. So it is expected to reach almost 3 billion by 33. Let's go forward how XR and 5G can enable design. So modeling 3D objects in 2D, like we can ask why do we do it as we do it at the moment. If you take a chair and you start to design that chair, usually at the moment most of the designers take 2D software and do it there, but the chair is 3D, why not do it in 3D directly, like this guy here. So it's already in use in this kind of product design. VR and architecture is a kind of a no-brainer too. So there are multiple softwares for the architects to actually use. Like here, they can place different elements in the interior design and also apply different textures on the top of the different objects. And then you can have a view on all the from all the angles of the building, outside, inside, in the different times of the day, also during different seasons. Actually, in how humans see it, which then is better for the actually when we start to design how it feels like to occupy and be present inside that space. Well, broadcasting and digital media, film and electronic production of content. This is a huge topic. I could go on 3 weeks only about this. VR games, as said, Half-Life Alyx was just released, and it has been a massive hit. Actually, there has been a lot of new headsets just sold because of this game alone. This is just a trailer, or like a kind of a gameplay trailer. So this is actually how it feels like to be there. It's an amazing game. I've played it through, and but then it's VR and gaming. I hope it's not only kind of a violence or like shooters, even though they're fun too, maybe sometimes. But this is just an example I want to show about kind of this interaction that we can develop in VR. Especially, I think VR allows this kind of intimacy to be formed with the characters. This is the Gnomes and Goblins, where you basically you are interacting with that goblin there in the picture. Imagine the next phase where AI comes along, and that goblin is actually AI, powered by AI too. So then you can think like how much richer the interaction might come in the future. Live hosted virtual reality multiplayer room escapes. I think the headline maybe is now occluded, but this is really new thing. So basically, people who have a headset, they can book a time from this room escape producer, like a production company, and then they, as they would do in any other room escape, but that will happen only virtually, and there's actually live host and live character that they meet inside the game. So again, 5G especially is good for this kind of a live multiplayer usage. Then really I have to go forward. VR can be used in game design workflow. This is what I've made. I create these models, and this is made with tilt brush, which is really easy to use for anyone basically. I've created this kind of a VR game world, and this is a kind of a well, basically it's to design the rhythm, how it feels like to be in this space. This kind of a director's tool. So this is only sketching. I've made it completely alone, except that gray 3D model, which is imported in there. Really cool way to create spatial games, especially if you do for VR, game for VR, you should do it in VR. And just quickly how it looks like when we then implement this in this is a project called Eversky that we are making. So we had actually live actors in mocap studio, and then they're captured there, and then this motion capture data is imported inside the VR, and then their voices, of course, are implemented too at the same time. And what we can do is, over that mocap data, we can actually build their characters then in 3D. I'm not going to the virtual production, which is super interesting too, but I don't have time. So from the music industry, this allows something that hasn't been possible also before. So live virtual concerts. This is from Travis Scott's Fortnite concert. So they can literally become kind of larger than life. idols. But this was, of course, through the kind of 2D screen, but with XR technologies, we can actually, especially with VR, you can actually be there, and also it's possible to make all kinds of worlds. So the concert can be live, Travis Scott can be performing live, but you can be taken to any kind of universes, and you can kind of tell a story through during the concert, and you can be there with your friends too. And there's Wave XR is a startup that is making actually exactly this live concerts. Visual arts and crafts. Again, going back to the tilt brush already mentioned, Anna Dreambrush is one of those artists who is only making VR art, or is like specialized in VR art. Really awesome 3D pictures there that she can make. There are some others too. Danny Boyle, maybe, whatever. 3D painting and sculpting. This is a sculpture made by Jonathan Yeo. And it is actually made in tilt brush and then 3D printed in this form. Fashion, well, this is just one example how tilt brush can be used also for design of dresses, and like outfits. Yeah, and basically from supporting services, I think it's worth mentioning that VR is of course really good for telepresence and virtual meetings, virtual conferences. It allows for gestures. As humans, we gesture when we communicate, and we actually, large part of the communication is through these gestures and facial expressions. So above there is a picture from Clue Collaboration, which is a Finnish startup, and then there's Facebook's Horizon, which is launching maybe already within this year, another VR social platform. And from the creative industry's point of view, this is valuable because it allows for co-creation, actually. We can all be in this same shared virtual space, and we can all contribute to the thing that we are making at the same time. And just quickly about the Qualcomm visions, and if we're thinking about the creative industries specifically, it's actually like almost every category of usage is somehow linked to creative industries in here. This is of course a little bit like a projection for the future, near future. Immersive education, live concerts, immersive movies and shows, interactive gaming, entertainment, storytelling, 3D design and art. This is a good summary for what I have been talking. In the AR side, augmented reality, at the moment we are not actually having that many well-functioning augmented reality devices yet, but once the 5G is enabled and the headsets or the glasses become lighter, you can have kids chasing virtual characters in games or like in the surroundings. They only see the character and they can be interacting with that wherever they are. Maybe visiting a Colosseum as it was originally, and so many use cases there. Just a few minutes, maybe we started a little bit late, but maybe few slides about the future prospects of creative industries. This is a report made by Immersive UK, if I remember right, about the immersive economy in the UK last year. It's 160 billion business, and they also mention from the first page how important 5G is for the whole industry. And when you look the contents, so from the whole market value, actually the creative industries are the biggest value maker. 22% for media and arts. And they also in the report they they talk about, they give examples of live gaming, resurrection through the holographic technology. They can resurrect music icons, location-based technology and stuff like that. And also, if you're interested in the field, there's a lot of market or like a lot of working opportunities. Almost half of the employees say that it's difficult to find skillful people, especially what they are demanding is real-time game engine like Unity or Unreal masters, and also slash roles in this developing field are important, like so that you can be a little bit like a developer but artist as well, and producer and artist. Yeah, and just finally, this is from Finnish, the Creative Finland, and so they name these kind of fields for the creative industries. What is really remarkable is also that XR and 5G makes unique products scalable. So when they say there in the middle, they say unique productions and products, like performances, events, galleries, museums, artworks. So basically what VR allows is the distribution and scaling up of these. So they can be both kind of a unique and scalable. That hasn't been possible before. And everyone knows that that means also good for business if it's scalable there. Okay, I don't go there. Thanks for listening. My name is Eero Tiainen. You can find my Twitter handle there, Tiainen Eero. And if you have any questions or you want to contact, there's my email too. Thanks for listening. I guess it's time for questions now. I'm happy to answer if you have any.
Yeah, thank you, Eero. And if you have more questions to Eero, please send on Eero's email or Klaned, and we will send them to Eero. And thank you for Eero.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks.